Hi everyone, welcome. This is Paul Jaeb, the host of the American Private Investigator podcast and your host for the upcoming webinar, The 3 Biggest Mistakes That Private Investigators Make That Hinder Their Agency's Growth. This is the first of 3 videos I'm going to be putting out over the next 10 days, so make sure you keep tuned in. You know, I've often compared running a business to being the captain of a ship. And all of us in our weird little part of the world are all really in charge of some sort of vessel. Now, some of us have chosen to be in a pontoon boat or a small fishing boat, and you're content being on a small lake. You know it very, very well. If bad weather comes along, you simply roll back up to your dock and wait it out. You're pretty friendly with the other people on the lake, often helping each other out when you run into trouble. And for these types of agencies, your exit strategy is often just to maybe give it to your kid or sell it at some sort of depreciated value. Now, this isn't a bad plan. In fact, it can be a very good plan, particularly for those investigators who are coming to our profession maybe as a second career or a little later in life. Now, some of you want a bigger challenge. You're running a 40-foot cruiser, let's say, out on the Great Lakes. You have a crew, you have to do a fair amount of training, there's lots of upkeep, you need a whole bunch of insurance, and of course your crew can be a problem at times. But you're in much choppier waters. The trips are longer and they often require very detailed planning. And the exit strategy for people in this boat often is to sell your boat to a bigger fleet, i.e. a larger investigative agency, or even sell it maybe to one of your crew members. And also, this can be a terrific plan. Now, finally, there are a few of you who have a cargo ship. Now, on a cargo ship, your capacity is huge. You require a crew of specialists to run these kind of operations. And unlike the previous examples, if you're a captain of a cargo ship, you might only know about half of what's going on to keep that operation afloat. You also have many more regulators since you're going into a variety of different ports. And when you're captaining a cargo ship, it's awfully hard to change direction. But if all goes right, you can make a lot of money. And typically for people in this boat, you want to sell your ship at a massive profit at some point. That's the exit plan. Now, all of you aspire to be one of these. And any one of these options is great and can provide you with what you need: the steady income, the stability, and the exit plan. The tough part of all this is really deciding which one. Now, when I started out my agency back in 1991, I had made some pretty big mistakes. I had spent about 2 years at a Fortune 250 company as a, quite frankly, low-level investigator, and for whatever reason, I felt prepared to go right to the 40-foot cruiser and get out into pretty deep and treacherous waters. And in retrospect, I really wasn't qualified to probably even be in a rowboat. So in the early 1990s, as would be expected, I ran this ship aground. I was not qualified to be in a big body of water in a big boat like that, and I really misread the conditions. And so, you know, what do I mean by that? I lost 70% of my revenue in the span of 1 or 2 months in the early 90s, when 2 of my largest clients rather abruptly left. Now, if you're in a fishing boat or a pontoon boat and you're on a small lake, you can pivot pretty quickly from something like that. And the downside is going to be bad, but not real bad. But not when you're in a 40-foot cabin cruiser hitting 20-foot waves. So I was really in deep trouble. And I decided right then and there that I was going to get this thing floating again. And I committed to learn everything I could about how to captain a ship that size. And you're going to hear in the webinar what my epiphany was and how it helped me shape myself into a much better businessman. So ultimately, when I set sail again, I was much more comfortable with my skills. And over the next 10 years, I was able to trade up for a cargo ship, which allowed me to quadruple my revenue and frankly work less. By avoiding the 3 biggest mistakes, I got through this storm, and it wasn't always easy, but I knew at that point that at least I wouldn't sink. Now I want to share with you as we get to the end of this quick video here with the single best piece of advice that I ever got, and which I attribute a great deal to being able to survive the early 90s. And I learned this in a business peer group I was in. Every business in the world can provide only 3 things to their clients. And those are, I'll write these down for you. They are price, quality, and service. However, you can only give 2 of these things, not a combination of two of these things, but just 2 of these things to your customers. It doesn't work. It's impossible for a business model to work if you're providing all 3. I don't care what anyone tells you. You can't provide great quality and great service at a great price. It doesn't work. Now, if you really think about this, you can look at any successful business that's out there and apply this model to it. So, for instance, McDonald's, they're all about price and service. Okay, you can get fed in 2 minutes really cheaply, but we're not kidding ourselves here to think that that's quality food. Lexus is about quality and service, but you're going to pay for it. Now, if you're wondering why you're not making money, it's probably because you're providing all 3 of these. Or if you have a competitor who is higher priced but still beating you up, it's because they're doing quality and service really well, and certain clients will pay for that. They'll view that as a better value than price. So I hope you consider joining me for this upcoming webinar. For 5 years, I've been talking to you on the podcast about being better business people, and I really, really want to continue that conversation. And I'm going to close with this. The worst adage that has ever been repeated is that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. People who believe that are simply looking for permission to be stagnant. You can learn new tricks, but you have to take the first step. And taking 1 hour to listen to someone who's been where you are, I think is really that first step. So I hope you consider joining us for the webinar. It will be offered at 2 times on October 29th. Information, of course, is available at AmericanPrivateInvestigator.com, and I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to listen to this today, and expect to hear from you again in a few days. Thanks, everybody.
For more information on the products and services of the American Private Investigator, please visit AmericanPrivateInvestigator.com. Make sure to engage with us through our social media links on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.